Everyone, hope everything is well. I wanted to talk today about the hype cycle from 2021 to 2026. This is the term that Josh Luber wrote in his paper, what, cards are cool again, or whatever the hell it was. I like that phrase. Cards are cool again. And, just going back to my own thought process, the hype cycle of this year occurred because of Logan Paul's, in air quotes, a PSA 9 card, but is a PSA 10 because PSA graded it multiple times and it finally got a PSA 10. That's why I call this rally. It's based on a faulty grade. It's based on lot of hanky panky going on. Okay. I asked Stay I, what's the difference of the hype cycle in sports cards of 2021 versus today? And I'm going to get into my own analysis as well. Just want to point this out there. And I would have figured this out as well. Main fuel, COVID, funny money, boredom, nostalgia, right? So if you go back to 2021, we had everything shut down. You got stimmy checks, there were PPP loans. Like it was a lot of liquidity flooding the market. Okay. Not only that, if you just look at M2 money supply from the Federal Reserve website, St. Louis Fed, like March 16 trillion to what, 2021, or if you want to even go to February 2022 before everything opened back up, it what went up 5 trillion in about 2 years. That's unprecedented. And if you go from March 2022 to today, it's barely what gone up like what over a trillion. So you're talking about 5 trillion to the upside in about a couple of years now. The last, not 5 years, but it went up in about what, 1.5 years, 2 years, whatever. Money supply went up ridiculous. And it made sense why asset prices were going up. Right now, we're in a situation where money supply didn't really go too much higher, yet everything keeps on going higher, including sports cards. What's the difference? What's the difference is Logan Paul's sale, in my humble opinion. Sure, you got some rich guys coming in, but I'll get into that later. 2021, huge wave of completely new collectors. Today, more experienced collectors and investors, prices, everything exploded in 2021. People are much more selective today. That's definitely right. I talked to Brian Gray, and Brian Gray was noticing is that they're selling a bunch of cards to go into grails in air quotes. And that's what a lot of individuals were doing based on what he was seeing at the National and based on people he was talking to. Sports cards was the main theme 2021. Today, it's a little bit of everything. Hell, people are pumping Snoopy cards for crying out loud. Mickey Mouse is being pumped, from what I understand. It's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Once again, backlog was a problem during COVID. You couldn't submit right after what, March of 2021. That was a top for many cards. And then the pumping began for like non-sports cards at that time frame. PSA's backlog today is what, 12.4 million. Back in the day, it was, who needs a 401k? That was Jeff Wilson, right? Today, cards are an alternative asset class. I want to put that in air quotes because do you believe this? I'm just asking. Do you believe high-end collector Matthew Shine Allen, known as Shine 150, purchased the 2026 Topps Chrome Shohei Ohtani Dual Gold Logo Man 101 for 11 million? Do you believe all these things are happening naturally? Yes or no? Do you think there are plants in this hobby? I'm asking you a question. I know other channels can't talk about this because their hands are tied behind their backs, But guess what? On my channel, I can talk about this. I've talked about a lot of things. I've had to deal with crazies talking about, hey, have the feds infiltrated the sports card hobby? Legitimate question to ask. Now, the thing is, if the feds are pumping all this money into the sports card hobby, next downturn, it's probably a buy, buy, buy situation. Other thing I wanted to look at, just influencers and individuals in this hobby, right? Back in the day, it was Gary V. Everyone thought he was pumping and all that stuff. The YouTubers. Today, there's a lot more people. There are a lot more paid individuals. Not only that, you have the GOAT, Tom Brady, getting involved in sports cards. You see Tom Brady hangs out with Ruben, hangs out with, and then Ruben hangs out with Jay-Z. Like, you're getting a lot of people with big money in the hobby. They have convinced people after Logan Paul did all of this hanky panky, right? Coming up with a PSA 9, or it was a PSA 9, now it's a PSA 10. And everyone sees the headline, oh, it sold for $16 million, but no asterisk. No one's going to talk about that, right? We've extended the hype cycle where people are seeing in the news, wait, Tom Brady, Aaron Judge, Jay-Z, Connor McDavid, now they're going to be in the hobby? Who knows? At this point, you may have had all of these guys and gals buy up these cards, and they maybe want to dump it onto the average Joe. I'm going to do a video on this in the coming week or so, going back to that mantle and what happened with my channel at that time. I talked about it, and then bada bing, bada boom, all of those strikes happened on my account. Is there a pump and dump going on? That is one of the videos that I want to go talk in depth on. Okay? And a lot of people have been, manipulating this market. I mean, back in the day, you had freaking Goonblad, pretending to be an Asian, that was the hype cycle back then to pump up PMGs. Then you got Pokemon cards pumped up because of this bogus PSA 10 card. And the hype cycle, well, you got more investors. Now, are some of these investors going to be like, hey, look, is this sustainable? The way that cards went up 3x basically in about 6 months for selective cards. I've showed you Tom Brady cards went up 3x. You want to look at that again. 236 Tom Brady. Okay. Even since like May, went from 2,500 to about freaking 5,500. It's not updated for today. I think I saw a sale of 4,500. This is August 13th, by the way. I'm probably going to post this August 14th. So, yeah, this doesn't usually happen in asset prices. You usually see a gradual move higher, not this pumping going on. But you have to remember, investors, they need to make money on their cards, on whatever portfolio they have. Will this be able to sustain the value that it is in this manner? Not right now. It could just be that people rode it all the way high and they need to take some profits and they're going to buy the next dip. So that's what it is. Hype cycle, somewhat different than 2021. 2021 actually made sense from a financial perspective. Everything was shut down, money pouring in. This time you don't have too much money supply out there. I mean, this time potential plants in the hobby buying cards. You got then all of a sudden these millionaires involved, and then a fake, not a fake, but a PSA 9 card, which legally says PSA 10, or on paper says PSA 10, that 3X'd. Okay? It is what it is. My own thoughts, just from a macro perspective. What happens when this money supply starts tumbling down, right? Yen carry trade unwinds, and the whole house of cards is like, hey, look, there's going to be a lot more negativity in the news. 23,000 jobs already lost the past month. What happens once again? 200,000 jobs lost. What's going to happen to the pumping? Is someone going to be buying this Otani card for 30 million? Well, what will it be worth? Okay, I get it. The Mickey Mantle high-end card, that's scarce. That is a coveted card. Those will do well in a downturn. Tom Brady refractor PSA 10, that's going to do well in a downturn. Not the mid-tier cards. The mid-tier cards, who's going to buy those? Those are the retail guys. Can a retail dude pay $4,000 during this current situation when everything unravels? No, in my own opinion. I mean, yeah, he's going to the Hall of Fame in 2028, but that's still a little time away. Anyways, let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you later. See ya. Bye.